Mr. Venkat, Professor Pant, Mr. Rao, and friends and guests today. I just wanted to talk about the positive aspects of digital, and when I spoke to when Mr. Venkat called me, he said that look, everybody hears a lot of buzzwords. They hear about Internet of Things, they hear about digital, they hear about transformation, augmented reality, artificial intelligence, robotic process automation. I can go on and on and on. But what does that really mean? Can you just try and bring it to life and also share what is happening? So I want to actually ask you a couple of questions in the next 5-6 minutes. So my first question is, can I please go to the next slide? And this is not full screen. Thank you. So my first question is there anybody who hasn't been touched by IoT today? Can I have a show of hands of anybody who thinks they have not been touched by IoT today? Not even one hand. Yes, you're absolutely right. If you look at the trends that are happening today, when you wake up in the morning, you take an Uber or a Grab to work. If you don't take an Uber or a Grab to work, you drive. And within your navigation system is the core global positioning system, which was created by the Department of Defense in the 70s in North America. That cost $5 billion of spend at that point in time. $5 billion in the 70s. Today you can get a GPS device for less than $100. Right? So we are talking about IoT, we are talking about the use of IoT. What about people who like to take a walk or who walk? Or even if you don't have a Fitbit or a tracker on your wrist, you have the phone, and in that phone it will tell you how many steps you've taken. It will tell you other, heart rate and other situations. On your way to work, whether you've taken an Uber, a Grab, a Comfort, or whether you've driven your own car and used navigation, you potentially listen to music, and that music has been in Spotify. If you've not taken any of these transport methods, and if you've taken the MRT, let me tell you that there is enough that the government is doing around the Smart Nation initiative today, that the escalators in the MRT station, those escalators vary their speed based on the number of people that are there at the station and the timing when you're taking that escalator, either entering the MRT or getting out of the MRT. Think about that for a minute on what it is doing. You're not realizing that, you're just going through the motion of your escalator, and you sometimes think, if you come for a coffee and you take the same escalator down, you think, hey, in the morning it's so fast, I have to look down and I have to step on the escalator. It's something so simple. But that is what is IoT. That is, everybody today as normal human beings have touched IoT very deeply in our day-to-day experience and our day-to-day life several times during the day. So I just wanted to start with sharing that although these are buzzwords, we are living it, we are breathing in it, so it's almost part of it, we don't feel it anymore. But what is happening in business? And Mr. Rao spoke about $1 trillion, but I'm talking about $13 trillion more. That's part of it. There are a few things that are fundamentally enabling us to consume more IoT and digital. The first one is an explosion of data. I don't think I need to bring that home anymore, right? We all know the kind of data that is being generated today. But think about the shift, and everybody's heard of millennials. Think about the shift that is happening. By 2025, digital natives will account for the majority of that world. How many people, my second question, raise of hands, how many people has bought an Apple product? Oh, that's almost 90% of the people in the room. Do you remember the manual that it came with? No, blank. It didn't come with a manual. Why did it not come with a manual? Because it's supposed to be so easy that you're able to consume it and you're able to understand it seamlessly. That's today's generation. I have kids, I have two girls, 9 and 3. And my younger daughter, 3 years old, she's able to use the iPad or the Mac, switch on YouTube, and look at the cartoons that she wants to look at independently. At 3 years old, I don't remember what I could do, but I'm pretty sure it was nowhere close to that. And this is the same workforce that is coming into our manufacturing units, into our supply chain organizations, into our sales organizations. The way they consume, the way they learn is completely different from the way we learn and from the way our seniors learn. No more 300-page manuals is what I tell my clients in the energy and chemical sector who are running plants, who are running critical pieces of equipment. Nobody wants to use a 300-page manual anymore and to kind of learn and memorize that manual. They want what Mr. Rao was saying, they want more augmented learning, they want more virtual learning, and they want to be able to make things very, very easy. So that has an impact on how we need to change and what digital will do, right? That entire amplification happens as well. And the last point is obviously the cost of technology, the availability of new sensors, etc. That is happening today. The compute power that we have within our phones, I think if you look at the new Samsung or the new iPhone, that has more than 16 sensors. Today, it can tell you whether you will have a migraine based on the weather conditions, as well as whether on your heart rate and on the steps that you walk or the exercise that you've had. That is the world that we are coming to. Right? Just in terms of typical ROI, if you look at the value chain of almost any business, and specifically the natural resources type of industries that we focus on, if you look at, for example, production and operations, today in Singapore, in Jurong Island, there are chemical companies who are consuming artificial intelligence at the level of an operator who's going to make decisions that will tweak the way a plant is operated and run. And they are doing it today using artificial intelligence. They are doing it today learning in a way that they get all of that data, all of those insights in a place, and then they just have to press a button literally with the best choices based on their history. If you look at supply chain, we are working with, does anybody know the company Royal Golden Eagle, RGE? Okay, I see a couple of hands. Now they are the second largest integrated paper and pulp manufacturer in the world. They have other businesses as well. But this is a company that has 1 million hectares of land in Indonesia, headquartered out of Singapore. It's an Indonesian business family. And they are using drone, they are using IoT technology to completely revolutionize the way their entire supply chain works. They are growing trees on 500,000 hectares of land, which is 8 times the size of Singapore. Now, how do you manage the growth and the cutting of, harvesting of trees and then sending that tree to the, having the right number of trucks, sending those trees to your mill, and then, producing pulp and then paper? How do you manage an operation which is 8 times the size of Singapore, right, seamlessly? And we're able to do that. If you look at workers, the same company has given out handheld devices to over 20,000 of their employees, so that, because everybody is used to using cell phones, education no longer matters as much from a usage of digital, from that perspective, right? So even if you have people who are high school educated or lower, they are still using apps. They are still doing different things within their smartphones, and smartphones are now affordable, for a majority of folks. And so across every angle, every part of the value chain, digital is playing a huge part in its disruption. So what does it primarily boil down to? We believe it boils down to these 3 things. 1, data science, the availability of data. What do you do with this data, and how can you provide insights from this data? How can you link up data from 5 different sources, and how can you make that work for business, irrespective of the challenge that you're trying to solve? Intelligent devices, sensors, network, cloud. Now every time we show the slide, there's somebody who will raise up their hand and say, but cloud, is it safe? For those skeptics in the room, I would like to ask you a question. I would wager you $10 if you can tell me where a data center is, where a cloud center is for Amazon Web Services or for Microsoft Azure. If anybody can raise their hand and say, I know exactly where the physical data center is located, then please come and talk to me. I'd love to learn more. Because these companies are spending billions of dollars in making cloud secure. This is their bread and butter. This is not our bread and butter. And so we are just consumers of it, right? We are consuming it either in the business context or in our personal lives. And then the human-machine interface, I think we've covered that. But at the crux of it all, it is about business enablement. How do we define business enablement? Irrespective of who you are and the job that you do, whether it's a production manager or an operator within the plant, whether it's a supply chain planner, whether it's somebody who's taking sales orders, whether it's somebody in your warehouse, every person needs to be able to make some decisions, and they need to be able to consume data and insights to be able to make those decisions. And if we can create business enablement and make that enablement, that consumption of information and insight easier, I think we made a difference, and digital has played the part that it's supposed to play. I'm just going to leave it here and join the panel. But thank you so much for listening.